morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here this lovely Monday morning with David. Thank you for joining us, David. And we are here to share with you, this is the third in a series this month where we're talking about spiritual practices. Today is all about sharing and giving, not just as a nice thing to do, but how to bring it into our lives and why to bring it into our lives as a practice. The Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual energy forecast. We have been focusing on the energy this month, which is the month of Gemini. And as you know, Geminis can be very Gemini. I'm trying to think of what's the right? If you know, you know. Their commitment and consistency are not their strong point. And the Kabbalists teach that whenever the energy of the month influences us all. So the tendency this month is actually to be a little bit Gemini. And that's why we're sharing habits and practices to prevent that tendency of, I don't feel like it right now, or that was yesterday, today is today, or I don't care, or all of the excuses that we give ourselves why not to be consistent. And last week we challenged our listeners to meditate for 3 minutes a day. In the beginning, I did it as well. David, I know you missed that homework, and I actually mentioned how sad I thought you'd be that you missed that. But I have to tell you...
You meditated what?
For 3 minutes a day. Now, I shared that I do meditate,
yes,
but not the kind of meditation that
you learned on the show. I understand.
This was just to sit silently, focus on the breath, not think about anything, which to me is anti-Gemini, anti-Gemini big time. And so it was difficult for me the first couple of days. But as I shared on Thursday when we did our Instagram Live after the show, I was actually on Thursday morning, I was surprised how quickly the 3 minutes went. So I finally broke my own personal stigma around meditation and was able to do a different kind of meditation. And I definitely benefited from it as a result.
Beautiful. So I know we were talking a little bit in the car about, sorry, I've lost my voice, everybody. Many of you know that it's starting to come back. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't here on last week's show. But we were talking in the car a little bit about the concept of giving and sharing. And one of the things I said, this is such a cliche, bad title. It's like such a bad title. Like, who wants to listen to a class, or a podcast, or a live that is just called sharing and giving? So obviously we have to kind of put a little bit of a Kabbalah spin on it and go deeper so people can really appreciate that concept. Do you want to start with giving us some wisdom about this concept, how it relates to the month of Gemini, and what we're trying to achieve by teaching this?
You weren't listening to me at all a minute ago. I explained how it relates to the month of Gemini already.
Yes. So you can skip that part.
Okay, thank you. Well, one thing that we talk about perhaps in every episode, if not every other episode, is that our purpose in being human beings on planet Earth is to create greater affinity with the light force of the Creator, right? We say it in different ways, in different contexts, but essentially, if there's a lot of people out there that are looking for their purpose, here's it in a nutshell. You're here to become like the Creator. You're here to emulate, to be in similarity of the form of the Creator. And the Kabbalists define the Creator, or the light, or God, or Spirit, or universe, however you'd like to title that force. It is an endless force of giving and sharing. And now I remember. There was one more concept I wanted to throw into the show, and I remembered that I forgot it. Now I remember it. Is that endless force of giving and sharing doesn't always feel good, right? That's I think one of the big confusions about, or maybe corruptions around, being generous, kind, and giving, is that we expect it to always feel good. Now, if you're a parent and your kid is saying, "Mom, can I have Coke? Dad, can I have Coca-Cola, by the way. Can I have another Coca-Cola, another Coca-Cola, another Coca-Cola?" Yes, if you hand the child his or her 7th Coca-Cola, there is a transference of Coca-Cola from one person to another. You could say that's giving, but is it kind? Is it generous? Is it thoughtful? Is it really what's the best thing for the child? And obviously the answer is no. So in the same sense, the Creator is always looking out for our best interest, is always thinking in the long-term benefit, not only of me personally, but the entire world. And that doesn't always look like joy and happiness and comfort and ease. Sometimes the universe looks at us and says, you know what, you need to get to your next level in patience, right? That's my favorite example, borrowing from one of my favorite movies, that if you need to go to your next level in patience, it's not going to be bestowed upon you. It will be your challenge. You will be challenged into strengthening your patience muscle. So is the universe mean, sadistic, vindictive? The opposite. That's what we're trying to get to here. The light force of the Creator is an endless force of giving and sharing, which means that if you need the opportunity to go to your next level in patience, the universe will give you again and again and again those opportunities. Those opportunities will then look like, why is everybody so slow? Why is everybody so annoying? What does God want from me? When in fact, you are the one who's directing the show. By you not growing in your patience, you're attracting a more challenging patience testing moment. And so even in looking at the concept, right, that it's actually the universe's, the Creator's generosity with you that you keep getting over and over again, faced with people who require you to be patient with them, situations that require your patience. Even, I don't know if it's ever happened to you guys, but sometimes you want something from yourself and you're not mastering it, understanding it, memorizing it, wrapping your head around it, and you lose patience with yourself, right? So the universe continues to give you that opportunity until you're able to develop that muscle and strengthen that muscle. So in the conversation that we're having today about sharing and giving, it might also be about learning how to say no. But the truth is, one of the things I wanted to say before, David, and it's going to be hard for us to stick to this, is we're not talking about why to share and give as a nice concept. We're talking about why it's essential to have a practice of sharing and giving and ways that you can bring sharing and giving into a daily practice.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about this. I'm putting some bullet point notes here for myself, which are some deeper concepts. I'll go through them one by one and chime in, and people can ask questions into the chat. So one of the things that I think is revolutionary about when people take Kabbalah 1 is and how it impacted me is that the goal of life is to have affinity of form with the Creator. And so this is a very simple concept. So it's very profound in its simplicity. The Creator is a sharing force, not a receiving force. Okay? We have to accept that. That's the crux of all spiritual wisdom, that there is a Creator. The Creator is good, and the Creator is a sharing force. And for us to not feel darkness and pain and suffering anymore, or for us to solve any problem that we have. So if you have a problem right now, or you have darkness and you want it to go away, the only way that's going to happen is if it starts on a spiritual level, that you align yourself with the light of the Creator. That alignment then gives birth to physical solutions in this world. But we have to start in a spiritual field. So what's revolutionary about Kabbalah is basically, how do you align yourself to become like the Creator, to become like a giver? But what's powerful is Kabbalah 1 talks nothing about giving. Even though the Creator is a giver.
The way you teach
maybe
it.
The
way that David teaches it, he doesn't mention it.
Do you have a class that's called sharing?
Yes.
You do have a class called
class
sharing?
number 5.
Okay, well, I don't, because I'm basing it a little bit off of, and that's why it's great, because you come to the different teachers in the Kabbalah Centre and you just get something different. It's not boring.
I might say that's not great.
Elisheva thinks it's not great because she created the global curriculum. So when people deviate from it, by people, I mean
It
me.
gives Elisheva an opportunity to grow in her patience.
And this is why we do so well with each other. Because if we were the same, you'd all be bored. So I don't.
As I kick David furiously under the table. No, I'm kidding.
So I don't. I remember having a class about giving, but the point is, people don't know how to give. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, do you really know how to? What does it mean to give? Write a check, say something nice to your spouse, take your kids somewhere. Like, what's giving? You could be giving and totally ruining somebody else. You could be giving and totally filling them up in a way that's just crashes their desire and makes them a worse person. People don't really know how to give, what to say, where to give, how much to give, with what consciousness to give. So I try to avoid it completely in Kabbalah 1. Why don't people know what to do or how to give? And I heard this from a lecture in 1980-something that Rav Berg, our teacher, taped. And he was teaching the teachers how to teach Kabbalah 1. You should actually listen to it, Elisheva, because it's going to be good for your curriculum making. He was teaching all these teachers, how do you give Kabbalah 1? And they said, the teacher's like, well, how do we teach people how to give? And so the Rav said, you don't need to teach people how to give. You need to teach people to shut down the reactive system, because once you shut down the reactive system, all that's left is the soul of the person who knows how to give. And that was pretty incredible when you think about it, because we have two systems inside of us. We have body and soul. We have the reactive system, which is fueled by the lack and the fears and the doubts. And then we have the soul, which knows what to do. Your soul knows where to go, what business endeavor to take. Your soul knows if this person is the right person or the wrong person. Your soul knows what to say, exactly when to say it. So why do we say stupid things or make stupid decisions? Because the reactive system is overpowering the soul. You shut down the reactive system, the soul shines. Soul knows what to do. Soul knows what to say. Soul knows how to give, when to give, how much to give. So the Rav didn't focus on being a giver. So how do I shut down my reactive system? Challenges will come up that you will feel lack. And then by default, we all want to fill our lack. And that is what reactive behavior is. So I'm going to stop right there. Just the simplicity of being a giver means, are you dealing with your lack first and foremost? Because most people give, but they also have a lot of lack, which is like a virus in the software. And it's screwing up how to give, when to give, how much to give. And this is why a lot of relationships fall apart. And people are like, I don't get it. I gave him or her so much. Why don't they appreciate me?
Well, to that point, David, I think that teaching, or it's not even teaching, practicing, getting into calling giving a practice. You have to back up and say, well, wait a second. Why are we even why is it even a practice in the wisdom of Kabbalah to have a habit of giving or sharing? And the reason is exactly that point, is that it's not our nature, right? You're talking about transforming our nature. If you want your nature to transform in a way, you need to force it. It's not going to happen of its own volition. And so the Kabbalists teach that the reason that we give is not to be a kind person, not to be a nice person, not because it's the right thing to do or it feels good or it allows me to alleviate my own guilt or create meaning in my life, which may be side effects or, the different ulterior motives that we have for giving. According to Kabbalah, we give because that's actually our nature. And when we're in that state of giving, we're expressing our true nature, our soul, and that's the way we strengthen our connection to our soul. When I'm in a state of taking or receiving, I'm strengthening my body. I'm strengthening my ego. I'm strengthening my lack, so to speak. And when I'm in sharing mode, and that's, again, the point is that I don't share because I was told to share, it's the right thing to do, or society needs me, or anybody needs me. According to Kabbalah, no one needs my sharing but me. The reason I share is because that is the most powerful way to express my soul, which means to reveal the light, to express the light, to connect with the light, to strengthen the light in me, right? So we tend to look already, I think one of the big paradigm shifts is sharing is for nobody but me, right? Nobody needs me. And maybe we're going to get some arguments from people. Well, if I don't show up to work, then blah, 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 blah is going to happen. Work is not sharing. If I don't show up, if I'm not helping, if I don't take care of my kids, taking care of your kids isn't sharing either, right? That's responsibility. That's obligation. If you help your parents, that's not sharing. That's responsibility and obligation. Sharing is what we teach is a tool for brightening the light in any situation. So like we said last week, I don't really have control of what's going on, but what is in my control is how much light is in the situation. Sharing is one of those tools that bombards a situation with light. So I use the example often of, let's say I'm working and I'm feeling down and I'm feeling like low energy or not in the mood, not inspired. It never happens, don't worry. But in the rare occasion that it does happen, I stop what I'm doing and I find someone to share with, because I know that that's going to reconnect me to my source. That's going to reconnect me to my true essence. And will somebody else benefit? Perhaps. Maybe someone will get some Starbucks, or someone will get an attentive listener for a few minutes hearing about how their day is or what's going on with their whatever. But the goal is to turn on the light.
All right, so you are talking now about the second thing. So the first thing I said that I really want people to become sharp about is to become the most effective giver. So you're already talking about, okay, well, let me go out there and add value. To become the most effective giver, and what's making us blocked in knowing what, when, how to give is because of some of the corrections that we need to make personally, our own lack. All right, so let's put that aside for a moment. Now we're talking about the consciousness of giving and actually adding value to people. And there's no shortcut here, like you said. Every day when we wake up, the body has went to sleep and has undergone a process of death because the soul has left the body. There's only a little pilot light that's left. So the body is connecting to the energy of the corpse. And it says that actually all the negative forces start to attach to the body when a person's sleeping. That's why, for example, when a person wakes up, they have like all the toxicities like coming out of their body. People don't know, but they're like off-gassing toxicity in the middle of the night. And I'm talking about from a medical point of view, that's what's happening. But it's reflecting the spiritual, which is, it's like a corpse because the soul is left. So what does that mean? What is a corpse? Corpse is a receiving force. There's no life. There's no giving in it. So we all must know, no matter what your spiritual level, no matter what you did even yesterday, when you wake up in the morning, the overwhelming force will be that of, I don't want to give. I don't want to share. I don't want to think about somebody or something else besides myself. And even if you do think about somebody else, oftentimes it's because it's bringing you a sense of calm, or you peace, or you're trying to control something or manipulate something. And that's the status quo, and that is okay. Like, we all have to realize that is the starting point. And then begins the process of going against that force. It's valuable that we're listening to this, because a lot of times people wake up and they don't even realize that the corpse energy has possessed them. That I need something, my lack, my thoughts, my desires, my pain, my schedule, my work, my money situation, my love life situation, my kids. And it starts to eat you away in the beginning of the day and you don't even realize it. But to become like the light, it's to take those first 10, 20 minutes. And we've talked about routine all the time. This is it. You got to have a routine in the morning that shifts your consciousness into becoming a compassionate force, something that gets you out of your head, out of your pain, out of your problems. I'm trying to think if I talked about it on this show. I didn't, but I mean, there's so many examples of, like, I was dealing with a problem that took like 5 days. I couldn't fix it. And then someone all of a sudden texted me, and someone had passed away, and they said, can you come do a meditation? Their soul's about to leave. And it was really the worst time for me to do it, because I had this problem I had to fix. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go. And then when I went, while I was there, the woman passed away as I was getting there. So I came in there, we did a meditation for her soul. And as I was doing the meditation, I got a notification on my phone from the people who were working on this. Oh, by the way, the problem magically got fixed. So many situations like that, where you have to sometimes let go of the chaos and the problem, and then focus on giving, or at least ask the universe for someone to come and ask you for something, ask you for help. You can say that. You say, Creator, send me an opportunity to share. So, and this is something probably we should do every day. Send me an opportunity to share, because I don't even know where to share or how to share.
Well, that's part of I think, bringing it into practice is, if that is in your daily intention, you wake up in the morning and you say to the light force, the creator, please send me opportunities to share. That's a practice.
That-
That is a
exactly.
meditation or
I like
a
that.
habit no less important than anything we've talked about in this series so far. The idea, and what David shared, I think brings up another idea, is that in his sharing, he went to this, this home, I'm guessing, and was there for this family. He's not looking for something from the family, right? He's not saying, well, okay, that was $1,200 for my time, or he was doing it for the sake of turning on the light. There was no, what can you do for me? I got you this time. You'll be here for me next time. That is one of the ways I think that most of us shortchange ourselves when it comes to giving, is that we wait for the return. We wait for something on the horizontal. I gave you, you're going to give me. I did something, now I'm going to get the acknowledgement or the recognition. I'm going to get a pat on the back. I'm going to get the promotion even. When we are motivated by something, and I use the word horizontal because it really can be from anybody on anything on this plane, right? It can be a financial return. It can be an energetic, emotional, ego, you name it. It's all related to me and other people, the recognition and the acknowledgement. What I really want to do, as in David's example, was I want my recognition and acknowledgement to come from the vertical. I'm using my giving and sharing to be more connected, closer to, more in tune with my source. And that, first of all, it's such a freeing shift, because if you're busy keeping score between you and your siblings, between you and everybody else in the office, between you and everybody on the homeowners association, between you and any other group that you identify with, that you're a part of, you will always be miserable. It's something that I tell my kids all the time. It's, if you focus on what's fair or how much you did relative to how much everybody else has done, right, relatively to his sisters. My son tends to be, he's older than them, so he's obviously more capable. And
Which son? Are you talking about
the 10-year-old?
10-year-old.
So he is better able to contribute than his younger sisters right now. And sometimes he gets upset about it, right? All older children. You're not an oldest.
No, I'm the youngest.
Oh, so plug your ears. So all of us oldest children can relate to that. I look at me. I'm busy carrying all this load, right? Think about what load a 10-year-old carries, right? The weight of the world is on his shoulders, and how it seems like we're babying they don't need to do as much because they're younger. I sat him down one day and I said, stop looking. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself, and you're not doing it for anyone but yourself. Now, he's 10, so I don't know. I'm going to keep reinforcing that as he gets older. But the idea that it's for me, and I don't want, how limited the response, the accolades, the way to go, Elisheva, how long does that high last me? 10 minutes until the next thing I've got to do, and I'm waiting around looking for who noticed, or how much is it going, how much am I going to get, how much more can I get paid, how much more recognition can I get, how much more love, right? How many people in their relationships are the doers because that's how they feel they get their love. I'm look at all the amazing, I know people that say, look at how beautiful our house is. Look at the quality food. Did we talk about this on the show? I don't remember that. There are food snobs that they feel better about themselves because of the high quality food they provide their family, which makes them look down on other people and also gives them this sense of validation of, look at, I'm doing much, I am a better mom than everyone else because of the high quality product I provide.
That's good.
How, and nobody, where's my thanks? Where's my recognition? Why aren't my children bowing to me when I walk in the living room because I'm so amazing? I want my blessings to come from an infinite source, not a source that has to take a nap, not a source that has a limited funding in their company. I want my energy to come from the ultimate source. And that's why the Kabbalists teach that if I can be in a habit of giving, and when I say habit, we mean daily, we mean weekly, we mean monthly, depending on what it is, and maybe we can spend the second half of the show breaking down more practical how to share as a discipline, as a practice. But what I'm doing is I'm strengthening that muscle. Imagine you go to the gym, right? There's certain machines for your biceps, certain machines for your triceps, certain machines for your quads, your abs. I'm not familiar. Obviously, this is not a language I speak. So it's the same thing in life. There are certain challenges that strengthen our certainty, that strengthen our capacity to love. And specifically talking about sharing, we don't want to wait for a need to share, to stretch our muscles, to strengthen our muscles. It's much easier if you're, there are people, this is such like an 80s reference. They used to be those grip thingies. You're too young.
Yeah, I know. I remember those.
People would have these hand.
It's an 80s thing?
It totally reminds me of the 80s, like Muscle Beach, in Venice. People at their desks strengthening their, I don't know what muscle with those grip thingies. I don't know what it's called. What is it? The forearm? So I told you it's not my language. You're going to do make a lot more progress. That's the word. You're going to get further doing that kind of repetition. That's the key. It's the repetition that will grow the muscle than it is if you lift, here I have my water bottle. It's also very heavy, but one lift of my water bottle when I'm thirsty is not going to achieve the same results as constantly challenging that muscle.
You said something very powerful, and I want to focus in on it. The idea that, imagine every form of giving reveals some aspect of the light of the Creator, and as a result removes darkness in a part of your life. But the other side, the negative side that's battling us, wants that light back for himself. So how does the negative side, the other side, that opponent, get that light back from any type of giving? And he does so using the weapon of expectation. Expectation, we have, by default, when you give, the body has an expectation to receive something back, either in the form of a thank you, some form of respect, some form of pleasure. The body starts to keep a log of energy it's owed. And the log is what's sucking the miracle back out of the situation. So for example, imagine a person gives all day long, but at the same time, they also have expectation from people all day long, even if it's a hidden expectation, because a lot of times we have hidden ones. All the light that was revealed actually goes back into the black hole called expectation, as opposed to a person who does one act of sharing a day, but he has no expectation. And he trains himself. You have to train yourself. He says, okay, through this action I'm doing, I actually don't want anything. In fact, even if they want to give back to me, I don't want it. Now, I may have to receive it because I need, for their sake, to create circuitry, because there's people who have the issue, the correction of their soul, which is they don't know how to receive. Also, and for them, receiving is sharing. That's a whole nother topic. But to always audit yourself and say, where's my expectation? Where's my expectation? Because the miracle is delayed when a person has expectation and is looking over their shoulder. So that's the worst expectation. Now, let's go to the next level. You should have an expectation from the light that the light will bring you the pleasure and the joy. But here's the secret about when the light brings it to you. The light will bring it to you when you're not looking at the light to bring it to you. For example, nobody likes to, imagine you give a gift. I went to a wedding. So imagine you give a gift to the bride and the groom, and you stand there and you ask them to open it in front of you. It's kind of shameful. You don't do that. You don't sit there and ask somebody to open the gift in front of you and see what they look. It's kind of like let them do that in private. For us to receive our gifts, it needs to be in private. So we need to actually leave. We need to say, light, I expect the miracle from you. However, when, how, from whom, I'm going to let go. And only when you've actually let go and you forgot about it will then the miracle take place.
I love what you said, because it's exactly the reason why it needs to be a practice. You realize if you become aware of how attached we are to the respect, the pleasure of the body registering, I look at all the good I did, look at all the good I deserve, then you understand why we need to train ourselves to resist that form of gratification, that form of satisfaction, and the example of gift giving, right? When you a wedding is a bit of an extreme example, but let's say you go to somebody's house and you bring a bottle of wine, or you go to a birthday party and you give them, the birthday girl or boy, whoever's celebrating, a gift. If you don't see them wearing it, using it, enjoying it, assuming you're close enough to actually see it, are you just as happy and loving with them, or are you starting to judge? Are you suddenly you're keeping score? Suddenly you're holding back your love and care for them because they're not appreciating what you gave them. So the whole idea of practicing, imagine yourself on a daily basis doing one action of sharing in the style that David just described. I don't want anybody to notice. I don't want to get any thanks. I don't want any recognition. I'm going to do it like a stealth mode. I'm going to do something that nobody can see, that I'm going to wear gloves so it can't be traced back to me. I'm going to do sharing because I want the light, not because I want anything else. And the more you strengthen that muscle, the easier it will be when the big stuff comes, when you have big opportunities to add value, to make a difference. And by the way, we even differentiate between, and this goes back to the practice idea, we differentiate between reactive sharing and proactive sharing, right? When you're watching, a telethon, and they're telling you, this is where your money's going to go, you should give. It's a bit reactive. You take out your checkbook because you see there's a great need and you want to have some impact. You write a check. Or do people write checks anymore? You call up and give your credit card, or you go to the website and you enter your information. That's reactive. There was a need and you rose to the occasion, right? A friend calls you. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I had a meeting with somebody she was asking me why she's so blocked in whatever she was going through. And I said to her, describe to me your spiritual practice. She told me what she does. And I said, what about sharing? And she said, I am the most sharing person. My friends and family know they can call me any day, anytime, day or night, and I am there for them.
But by the way, when somebody says they're the most sharing person, it's interesting because when you are a sharing person, it means that the light of the Creator is revealed. And when the light is revealed, you actually see how far you are from being a sharing person. So people, if we believe something about ourselves, it means that the light isn't revealed to us, because when the light is revealed, you feel actually very far from whatever that thing is that you think you are. Keep going. Sorry.
So her friends and family know they can call her whenever, and she is there for them. But guess what? They have to call her. She needs.
That's a good one.
It's a very subtle distinction. She rises to the occasion, but if there's no occasion, nobody's there, right?
And does she subconsciously, very subconsciously pray that there is an occasion?
So that's the point.
There is a little drama and chaos that requires
and I'm going to come in and rescue. It's really essential, if we want to see the kind of blessings and miracles that David is referring to, that we detach ourselves from any of those momentary instant gratification, drama, rescuing, all of that stuff. By the way, someone is writing here on the chat, giving unsolicited advice. Huge. Don't get into the practice. That is not sharing. If you give unsolicited advice, why? Very simple. Kabbalah 101. There's no vessel. The light can only be revealed in a vessel. So the light is everywhere. That's also Kabbalah 101. It only needs a vessel to be received. If somebody does not want to hear your opinion or your experience or your wisdom, there's no light being revealed. So there may be an outlet for you to share your wisdom, your experience, your love in a habitual, in a regular basis. But you want to make sure that there is a vessel for it. And the example we always use is, you come out of studying Kabbalah class, you're all excited about sharing and revealing light, and you help a little old lady cross the street. you didn't ask her if she wanted, you just kind of dragged her across the street. Well, she was waiting for the bus, and because you were so kind in sharing, she misses her bus, right? So in that case, there also is no vessel because she didn't need help getting across the street. So thinking in terms of how I can train myself is actually it. If you think it would be impossible not to look for the recognition, the acknowledgement, the good feeling, the I need to be needed, that whole thing, the secret is habitually, and I really dislike that word, but it really is the right word in this case, creating a habit of giving for no reason. And
a lot of people who go to war with this part of themselves, because if you can achieve a transformation here, that's it. The negative side can't touch it. The gates are open for you. But a lot of people who go to war with this side of themselves, the side that needs an expectation, the side that needs to receive. I need. We are meant to receive. The word Kabbalah means to receive. So the receiving will happen. But if you limit it by saying from whom, from where, and when, that is the short circuit. This war that we need to go through to let go of this need for approval, it's a war that people get tired of. They get excited in the beginning. So right now you're hearing it, you're like, yes, I want to live a life where I'm a giver without expectation. It sounds phenomenal. And it's exciting and it's empowering. However, you will get tired of doing this. It will just be much sweeter to take any energy that can come our way and to look for it. But if you can go to war over and over again to chip away at it, it's funny. We know one of our colleagues, is Benjamin Malou, is a teacher in New York. Sometimes he says to me that just stay with me. He comes out of nowhere. He does this little Scorpio thing. He gives me a message. Why are you giving a look?
That's when I whip out the Men in Black thing and I just whip it out.
No. So listen, one time in New York, he comes to me and goes, do you know how with your child, I don't know why he said this, you have to tell him 500 times something before he understands it and it registers? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's the same way it is with us in transformation. It's okay. It's going to take 500 times to remind yourself over and over again. I'm like, hey, you're right. I like that. So every time I'm making a change and then I take 3 steps backward, I remind myself, be patient. It's going to take 500 times to chip away at this thing. And you're going to get tired and exhausted. You don't want to deal with it. But that's what Elisheva said, which is having a routine and a structure, which is the anti-Gemini. Having a routine and a structure to attack something you want to change is essential for the transformation. And you will get tired and you will lose inspiration and you will not even feel like it's worth doing it. That's a sign that you're getting to that moment of transformation.
Okay, so we already talked about one, although we didn't announce it, we talked about one way that you can program yourself or begin to deprogram the I'm giving for the sake of receiving program. And that is having that daily intention of that will be sent opportunities to share unconditionally, to share without agenda, without attachment. And believe me, the universe will send them to you if you have that intention. The question is, will you recognize it, right? That's another episode probably. There are other ways that the Kabbalists teach, and I'm not sure any of them are exclusive to Kabbalah, but maybe the reasoning behind them differs in the wisdom of Kabbalah as to how to train ourselves to be in the habit, in the routine, to have a structure to our giving. One of them is through tithing, which is something that I think you find probably in every church. I mean, I personally don't remember learning about it as a child or as a young person, only after studying Kabbalah. But I know a lot of people grew up knowing, believing that tithing is important, giving back to. I think that the essence to giving tithing specifically is it's not you can't really tithe to your kids. You certainly cannot tithe to your kids. Tithing is something that you do where you receive your spiritual nourishment, right? It's creating, like David said, a circuitry with my source. And so a lot of people may have heard about it, let's say growing up, wherever they attended services. Let's say they may have been in the habit of giving on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. But the idea is that by me doing it automatically, right? I disallow that process of, look at what I did. That's part of the magic.
What do you mean by automatically? I don't think a lot of our viewers understand.
Whether now automatically, I guess, means different things. But, if it's, the moment you get paid, or if it's on a specific date of the month, there's different ways to automate it, right?
Are you saying it when it's automated?
When it's not you know what? I just won the lottery. Now I can share, right? That's also a form of reactive sharing if there isn't this consciousness behind it. The Kabbalists go into a whole conversation about how the energy, what happens if a person understands the technology. Why is it 1/10? 1/10 is we're removing that, maybe David's better at explaining this, but there's 10 dimensions, and the 10th that we're giving away is the physicality, the portion that is limited by the material limitations that come with living in this physical reality. So I may give away 10%, but the 90 that I keep doesn't have that connection to limitation and finite and ultimately destruction. The Kabbalists teach that 10% is going to go to things that do not have continuity, fruition. It'll go to parking tickets and unexpected bills. And, it happened to me once. I'm the first one to admit I have witnessed this personally. I once took a cab ride and accidentally gave the driver a $100 bill instead of a $20 bill. And he looked at me. I didn't even notice. He looked at me and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, I'm sure." And then I went to my wallet later and realized I had given 100 instead of a 20. And then I understood the whole, but it happens. I'm a victim of it. I've been a victim of it. But the idea is that if I don't allow, or the opposite, let's make it in a more positive, use more positive language in it. I am creating a habit of giving every time I receive. When it's automatic, when it's not, when I commit to that habit, and that's what I love about it also, is it's 10%. It's not 50%, right? It's a very precise, it's very easy. Just move the decimal. You can figure out exactly how much it needs to be very easily. But the idea is that if that's a habit that you commit to, you're gradually whittling away at that part of you that wants to receive from their sharing. You're whittling away that part of us that needs to have the acknowledgement and the recognition from the horizontal plane. It becomes, I'm recirculating my energy back into the universe. I'm creating that circuit of energy because everything I receive, and for those of you that are listening to the podcast, you can't see my arms moving, but I'm creating a circuit of movement with my arms, that there is a flow in my life. I'm bringing a flow into my life that maybe didn't exist before. There are other ways to give monetarily. There's different categories, but that is the one that is habitual. Charity is something else. Contribution is something else, and maybe we can have another.
Well, actually, I assume you're saying this because maybe you were on it or you heard about it, but we did a whole 4-week series on abundance. I think the last Thursday that we did it, it's on Kabbalah.com. All the teachers, Eitan, me, Batia, and Marcus. And I think the third one was going through the different types of ways that people can give and do give. What's the consciousness? What are the rules behind it? People like structure. People like to know, what are my limits, my boundaries, what I need to do, not do. So if a person's interested, and it's a wealth building tool. The whole purpose of the four classes, the four series was to give people the tools of building wealth. The third class focused on this. The fourth class is happening this coming Thursday night as well. So people can go to Kabbalah.com if they want to get deeper into this, because obviously we're not going to go into that now.
For sure. And we also, on giving.kabbalah.com, there's also other explanations about the power of giving and the different energies it can awaken. So you can go there as well to read more. But it's really the creating that structure is proactively chiseling away at what David talked about in the beginning, that the lack, I'm not giving from a place of lack. I'm giving from a place of completeness, of fullness. And I become truly the creator when I am able to receive for the sake of sharing. So that's a big one, in my opinion. We talked about another one last week, by the way, which I know you could probably talk about for 3 hours, is praying for others, right? That being in a habit of praying for other people is, I want to use the word essential. I would go so far to say it's bare minimum. Bare minimum. And maybe you can speak a little bit about why that is.
No, I thought the show's almost over.
You have another 3 hours if you want.
About praying for others?
Well, what are some other practices? Praying for others is, I think, a huge one.
I think instead of going to the whole broad topic of it, I'll tell you, whenever I'm, this is probably also the reactive, but whenever I'm in a challenging spot, stressful spot, tense spot, you all can try this, especially if you're upset with someone. You can stop it. You can pray for somebody. Because what that does is we know that all the disease really comes from tension in the body and stress and inflammation. As soon as you start praying for someone or thinking about them, something happens to your body. Forget about even the spiritual, just physically, something happens to your body where everything opens up. Because your body's being trained now to be a giver. Like I notice so many times that I'm sick, like now I don't have a voice, but like if I have to come up and give a class, it happens so many times. I'm like nauseous, I'm vomiting. Oh, but I got to get on the stage and give a class. So I get on the stage and all of a sudden I feel great for a whole hour. And then when I get off the stage, I collapse. And there's something that happens that when you go into a giving mode, with your mind, with your thoughts, with your body, the body switches. It's all of a sudden like the light takes over and healing occurs. But when you get off the stage, you get into the taking mode.
That's a side effect, I would say.
I'm trying to get people excited to share with them the side effect of when you think about others. I'm not even giving the system and structure of how to do it. But as soon as you stop thinking about yourself and you go into a giving mode, it's like the mom who can lift the car to save her child. Because when you have to give, all of a sudden you're invincible and infinite. As soon as you receive, you become tiny, small and limited.
And by the way, if you're listening to what David's saying and you can't relate, it may very well be because when you have the opportunity to give, you're focused on the receiving of it and not the giving, right? A lot of people give and do good things and volunteer and are in sharing mode, but because they have these energetic cords attached to what they're going to get in return, the feeling isn't rejuvenating. It's not energizing. And I know it for myself. I tell people as well, and it's a weekly, I have this conversation at least once a week with people, is that if you come home at the end of the day and you are drained physically, if you feel low energy, of course hopefully you're eating well and you're sleeping well and all those other things. But if you, let's say randomly, come home after a long day and you are unusually drained, my prognosis would be, my diagnosis is, you did things all day long for what you could get, not for the light it could reveal, not for the opportunity to express your gifts and your talents with the world with no attachment. You were attached. And because you're attached, when you're attached on the horizontal level, people are finite. They can't nourish you infinitely, and therefore your battery at the end of the day will be drained. But if you're constantly thinking about, I have to make this phone call now. I remember actually having someone in a class asking me, they do cold calling for a living. Right, so it's very not the most exciting or energizing. It doesn't necessarily seem that way for most people. The idea is that if you can do it because of the light it's going to reveal, because of the blessings you're going to receive, because it's getting you so far outside of your comfort zone that it has to create some huge shift. Amazing, not with attachment to God, I'd like the shift to be on Friday when I have a date with someone. You're not saying where and when, like David said before. You're not giving a date and a time and a how. You're just asking for the light. And you can even imagine it. There is an infinite source. It has a homing station within you. And as soon as you do, your motive is for the light it can reveal. You're tapped into a battery that never needs recharging because it has constant flow and source. So I hope that I assume it was clear until this point. All of the consciousness, the intention behind giving and sharing, at least according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, is different. It is, it's not for the benefit of society, it's for the benefit for the self. But the truth is, if I have more light in my life, and this is really something very important to remember, the more light I have in more light in there are forces preventing me from sharing this. the more light in my life, the more light in the world. So it's not selfish to do things to reveal light. When I hold a flashlight, that light doesn't stay on me. That light expands to as far as it can reach. So the more light I have in my life, the more my family benefits, the more my community benefits, the more the world benefits. So don't allow yourself to be tricked into thinking it's selfish to want light. It is not selfish. It is sharing. And on that note,
beautiful.
Anything else you want to say?
No, wrap it up. That's good.
All right. So thank you for listening. Now, I want to make sure, by the way, that all of our listeners know we are on Facebook at Weekly Energy Boost. We are also on Instagram at Weekly Energy Boost, and we often post exclusive material there. So for those of you that are on social media, especially Instagram, we have lots of fun stuff that we're able to do there. So please get on there, follow us, and we're hoping to share even more stuff in the future. I cannot remember what we're talking about next week, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be so good.
Especially if I
when
can't
you don't
remember
know what
it.
it is, that's when it's really good because the
Exactly.
opponent doesn't want us to talk about it.
Exactly. So hopefully we'll see you there. Have a fabulous week, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.